Hi everyone, it's Christine Aldridge at CLAldridgeArt, and I'm back. I just wanted to show you a quick tutorial on drawing translucent gemstones or coloring translucent gemstones. I do have to give a shout out to Rose Rambo over at Vitruvian Art. Anything that I know about coloring gemstones I have learned by watching her videos. And if you are familiar with her channel, then you know she does amazing work. So far, the only ones that I have seemed to have mastered are the translucent glass. But since I'm doing quite so many of them on this piece, I just wanted to show you how I'm doing them. Sorry, the clips. I just also wanted to give you a couple of hints. If you ever see these on sale anywhere, just simply grab as many as you can. These are bulldog clips. They are the handiest thing in the world. I use them for everything from holding the drawings for a book together when they go into my raw file, to obviously holding down paper on which I've used a water medium to prevent buckling. I use them in all my coloring books as I'm working, and they are just about the best tool. I use them to hold frozen food wrappers together since I never use the whole package, so I open a bag of vegetables and then use these to reseal them. I have one in my shower that I've driven a screw into the wall, and I just hang my shower cap from it. It's just a wonderful tool, and one that everybody should have tons of. At any rate, okay, on to these gemstones. Now, the four colored pencils that I am using for this are Prismas. This is the Chartreuse. It is number 989. This is the dark green, and it is number 908. And this is the parrot green, and it is number 1006. And then I also, for the very outer edges, I use the 935 black, because you have to think about, as Rose will tell you, where is the light coming from? In my case, I decided that the light is coming from this direction. So it's going to hit my glass here, and as it goes through the glass, it's going to make this end of my gemstones the lighter. This was to be the darker, and this is the lighter, and these are the highlights. Now, you could color it solid with just a gradient, and then go back in with, Uniball or white Posca to create your highlights, and you certainly can do it that way. I choose to use the white space for almost all the highlights that I ever create in anything, regardless of whether it's a flower. Obviously I used a lighter shade, which created reflection when I did this butterfly over here, just to give a sense of the light. I did the same thing with this blue butterfly. I did want to say that on this one, with Prismas, I did come back in and do some shading, since most of this was done with Derwent Inktense, and I tightened up this yellow space in my leaves. It was fairly wider the last time I showed this piece. At any rate, okay, on to the gemstone. So I always start up here, and I want to, I'm hoping to, okay, let's see if I can do that so that it doesn't cast too bad a shadow. But what I do is I want to just roughly lay out where my highlight is going to go. And I know it's going to be, and I'm going to start out with a fairly wide line because you can always narrow it down. And then because this is a square gemstone, but it's got sloped edges, at least in my imagination, your gemstone can be any way you want. And then I am going to break my own rule already, and I am going to turn the page because this is sort of fairly important that I get the lines kind of right. So then I go back across here, create a bit of a dark space. Not very much pressure, just enough to create a dark enough space. And then I come down here again with just a wider bit, and then come back in here at a 45-degree angle, and that just creates a side. So now we've got, and I'll come in here. So now I've got it roughly laid out where my highlights are. Then I can come in and just, with a very light pencil, just sort of fill in some of this. We're not worried about making it dark right now. We're just putting down a light layer to establish where the color goes. Now I'm going to switch to the chartreuse, and starting at this end, because I know this is where my lightest end is going to be, I am going to lay in about a medium pressure bit of color, just because that way if I need to erase, like if I get too much green down here, then this color is already underneath. And I can literally ease up my highlights with an eraser if I mess up. Since this is the first time I'm going to do one of these on camera, the chances are pretty good that I'll probably mess up. At any rate, then I take a little bit of parrot green and just sort of ease in the remainder of those facets so that it goes, so that you imagine that the top surface of your gemstone is this flat surface here. And then once again with a very light pressure, just lay in a little bit of color, kind of blend it over your darker green. One of the many things that I've learned from Rose is that gemstones have a lot of colors, and they're not always colors that you expect. Like a clear gemstone can have shades of pink and lavender and all sorts of things, because that's how light works. As it shines through the various thicknesses of glass, it casts, just like a rainbow, it casts different shadows. So now I'm going to go back to the green. I'm just going to work on darkening this up just a little bit. Kind of make it over here. Just have to kind of imagine where your gem is. Maybe work a little bit of it down in here. Don't be afraid to just, and I mean feather touching. Just feather touch it even down here. It doesn't really, once again, remember, if you get it too dark, you can always use an eraser to lighten it back up. Then maybe I'll put a little more, use the lightest shade, just to keep it all more of a yellow-green. And put a little bit more down in here. Not too worried about these upper edges yet. I'm going to get to those. Just, it's important to keep these edges straight. And those are going to be the darkest part of your gemstone, because that's where the light is catching, and it's going underneath. So just successively, work it out to where it's just slightly lighter. Even add a little bit more down in here. A lot of this is going to warm up when we pull it down with our final kind of burnishing. Go back to your parrot green. I like the parrot green because it's just a color that I love, obviously. And in my world, emeralds are emerald green and parrot green when the light shines through them. In your world, they can be any color you want. If you wanted to have a blue, you could have a blue. You just always want to remember that green and blue, no, yellow and blue make green. So those are the colors you want to stick with. You can have blue, you can have yellow, you can have any shade in between. You just sort of work it all down, keeping it very translucent. This is the thing I love about Prismacolors. This is, by the way, just 110-pound cardstock that I bought at Walmart. Because this page is from Flowers and Wonder, and of course they're my books and I have the copyright, but I don't actually have a physical copy of this book anymore. I gave away my last copy, so I have to order some more. But in the meantime, I can just print them off whenever I want from my computer file. All right, so now I'm going to take this and I'm actually going to work a little bit more of it and just go ahead and blend it down right into here. And you can see how it starts to come down and darken it up and make it more of a glow. And you're actually getting rid of those harsh lines. You can even work it up into here. Sorry guys, getting a little off the page there. I'll kind of darken those up. Once again, we're going for the okay. And when you think you have it, just the way you want it, then now of course then you use a dark pencil, and I wanted to discuss that for just a second. I had never done a square gemstone before, so I went onto Google this morning and I looked up square glass mosaic tile or square mosaic tile, and it popped up a bunch of images. And so I looked at the images because I really wanted to determine where the where the highlights should be. And in several of the photographs, it did show the light coming from the direction that I wanted, which was that direction. And this is where the highlights were, and it cast the glow down here. So that's how I figured out where the light should be shining through a square gemstone. So there's no secret to it. But for me, coloring is always about practice. And this particular drawing is giving me lots of opportunity to color. Now, those images also had a very dark corner. and it was consistent through all the images that when the light reflects from here, a very dark shadow is cast down here at the very bottom of your stone. So it doesn't go all the way, it only goes about halfway. So that's when I use my black, and I just laid in just a tiny, tiny bit. Once again, it's one of those very subtle touches, but it really makes a nice gemstone. They don't all have to be exactly the same. They don't all have to be exactly the same translucent depth. Notice that this one is different than this one, is different than this one. The round ones are slightly different in that they have a slightly larger glow, slightly different place, closer in from the edge. The ovals, they can all be like this one maybe was a little darker cast, and these are a little bit lighter, lights, darks. It keeps the piece interesting when you vary those out. I will show this piece one more time. It is almost finished, but until then, I just hope that you enjoyed my little square, oops, sorry, I'll get used to not bumping the camera, little square gemstone demonstration. At any rate, this is Christine Aldridge. I am CLAldridgeArt. Thank you for watching. Bye.